If you watch this channel, then you will know that regularly I have been somewhat of a skeptic about what is going on at Liverpool right now. Not to the degree where I want to throw Arne Slot out, not to the degree where I think the team is terrible, not to the degree where I think the management don't know what they're doing or the ownership don't know what they're doing. But I'm just not the kind of guy who looks at any of these kind of performances and says to myself, yeah, we should base our judgment on that purely on the scoreline, unlike some people. For instance, reading through headlines today, got three goals either side, 6-goal thriller, Liverpool take, all these kind of bizarre takes from journalists and other people who are just struggling to get content out. But there are 3 things that I spotted and 3 things that I felt had been sort of hinted at in this Liverpool team before, but not really addressed or not made as clear as I wanted to see. And last night against Newcastle United, I think Liverpool showed heart, spirit, investment, things that I felt in previous weeks have been overlooked or possibly felt a little bit more hidden because we were looking at Liverpool's system. We were looking at the new shape of the midfield, the way that Salah works out on one wing, the way that Gakpo works out on the other, would Andy Robertson fit in, who fits there. And we'd seen that through pre-season. But then essentially the extended pre-season that went on and the excuses that got put out there for Liverpool's wins or the explanations which explained away why Liverpool were better than one team or another. By the way, I still think when people are talking about scores, we're still playing badges. We're not playing the team at that point based on form. And there is still a long time in the season to go. What people wanted to do, what a lot of people were very fast in making a judgment about was Liverpool title favourites because they've won these games now and therefore they've done this thing. With the momentum that we've got and with the way that I've seen this team, I think, it's very legit to say this team should be considering themselves as one of 2 to 3 title favourites at this point, even with City involved. But evaluation on City on another channel, right? Arne Slot has put together a team who are still invested in this side. You've got Virgil van Dijk on the last year of his contract, Trent on the last year of his contract, and Mo Salah on the last year of his contract, all of which put in fantastic performances last night. Granted, it wasn't like, vintage Virgil, but it certainly was a Virgil that I can get invested in. And they attack the other side because the strength of Virgil van Dijk is just so overwhelming for so many strikers. Even when people take into account the Isak goal, even when you take into account, the fact that there were people who were pulled all over the place, that was Newcastle's modus operandi last night. Pull Liverpool as far apart as possible, make it as difficult as possible to press. I don't necessarily think that falls on Virgil van Dijk. The other side of that is, I actually think the midfield showed its guile last night. It did show that it was relatively quick to pass. It showed that there were issues in some of the spacings and some of the distance to the opposition. But the adjustments that Arne Slot made in-game, and he referred to the first and the second half in this, made a big difference. And in-game management has become something that Liverpool have become synonymous with. No one at this point in this season is levelling at Liverpool, oh, you aren't very good at judging the opposition and then putting them in a position where they can't win from there. That's certainly one thing that Arne Slot is fantastic at. And it's part of the Dutch thing, but it's also part of this, why Liverpool will have gotten him. He's very good at making in-game changes. He's very good at preparing the players on just an almost instinctive level as to how they're meant to react to things. And he's very good at keeping consistency with the Liverpool squad. So even last night, right, against Newcastle United, look at the flow of the game. 1-0 down to Isak. Then Liverpool then score the other way, so it's Curtis Jones, and then Anthony Gordon goes the other way and scores again. Do you see Liverpool panicking? Not necessarily. I was certainly feeling that the game wasn't going our way, and actually in the first half I felt the referee gave a lot of decisions their way and didn't give them the other way. But again, the calmness remained. Liverpool knew that there was still a lifeline in there. Mo Salah, 2-2, again, great moments of individuality. 3-2, Mo Salah, again, he hit the bar just before that as well. Counts as a missed shot, but you still get my point. Liverpool were knocking at the door. And even though we'd been outplayed in that first half or out-hustled or however you want to put it, Liverpool were still in the game. And it wasn't even necessarily because Newcastle were bad. I just think Newcastle were very good at, like I said in my review last night, clogging up a lot of what Liverpool did. But the in-game management that Arne Slot has briefed his team with and then primed his team for is huge. And I'm going to talk about this final piece in another video. The shifts that Arne Slot, in terms of pacing, in terms of ball movement, in terms of where the players move, is elite. And this elite change that Liverpool make during the game, when they just sort of go from the passing at the back to sudden movements, to very quick 1-2s, to 1-2-3s, you saw that between Mo Salah and Trent. A lot of people go, oh, that's just the instinctive way that the players play. No, Trent came on with a briefing, and as brilliant as he has to be technically to execute that, as brilliantly as Salah's finishes go, those are all things, these are principles that are based off the training and the instinctive stuff that Arne Slot is looking to instill in his players week in, week out. Finally, the game was drawn, and therefore it felt like a loss, because of that final mistake and the final pressure. Now, I actually think Kevin Keller had probably had his worst game that we've seen so far this season in a Liverpool shirt, and that would be easy to say because he conceded the 3 goals. Kind of outside of that, the saves that he made, some of the pressure that he was feeling, you could see that there was a lot of pressure on that back line to get the ball just out. Not even to the midfielder they wanted to, just out of there. And the frustration built, or you would have built in previous eras, I think Arne Slot has managed this very differently to, say, Jurgen Klopp. But Newcastle negated a lot of what Liverpool were trying to do, and it worked. It did work. But I went then into my comment section, and whether you want to see that as a mistake or not, whether you want to see, Liverpool as a positive or negative, a lot of people were speaking about this rotation in of different players, of, the fact that Jarell Quansah is the right back and how right backs are so important to this system. I agree with that, first of all. Secondly, where's my community tab? There we go. Talking about, we miss Bobby. Yeah. That's the top comment from last night, by the way. The second thing that everyone seemed to agree with was the pressing was really off. So as good as the midfield were in terms of their spacing, their game management, the instinctive things that they did, the actual execution of the game plan didn't seem to be there. And this is the flip side of that coin, because Liverpool weren't pressing in the way that they needed to. A number of times they were letting Newcastle players get beyond them because Newcastle were breaking the lines very well, and that's why you saw Liverpool pulling people back a number of times. Normally the referee lets those kind of things go a couple of times. Last night he just didn't let those things go at all, and you could see the frustration of Arne Slot, as I highlighted in my post-game analysis or diatribe. The referee really, I didn't think was all that good. He allowed them a lot of chances, didn't allow us a lot of chances. And I think they knew where our weaknesses were. And it shows the strength of someone like Konate. Again, another reason why going forward I have a lot more hope. Konate is a fantastic player. He is due to sign another contract at the club. So would Virgil be. I think at this point there are rumours that all 3 of them are going to sign contracts. But I'll take that as it's a myth until we actually get those guys to sign actual contracts. There's no point in saying that guy signed a contract if he's not holding a shirt or holding a pen. It's just silly, really. And at this point, I actually think it's just to kind of keep the fan base quiet. They are seeding things to us which are basically saying, hey, just be patient here. And ultimately, no one's going to sign a contract before January anyway. But the point is, Mo Salah has reached new levels this season. Mo Salah, not only is his technical ability seemingly continued and his fitness, inshallah, seemingly continued, we also see the widening, the thickening, the circle of where his abilities are on a graph has gotten bigger. His vision seems better, his hookup seems better. And again, he was brought in to save Liverpool in the game. Some people are not acknowledging, and I think this is fair to say, this isn't a squad that Arne Slot has necessarily had the time to shape yet. And I made this point last night, but I'm at pains to repeat it. Arne Slot didn't choose Darwin Núñez. He didn't choose the left wingers. He didn't choose Mo Salah. Some of those guys have performed for him, and I'd argue that last night some of the pressing just wasn't in sync enough to work for Liverpool, right? On the flip side of that, he has trained a lot of these people and coached a lot of these people. That coaching, the ability to stay within touching distance of a team who have decided we're going to attack Liverpool, go punch for punch or whatever you want to call that kind of football, rather than take the tactical approach and try and keep Liverpool at arm's length, try and in a measured way beat us. Those two things, they're at the opposite ends of what Liverpool want right now. Liverpool want the team to try and be measured and beat us to an extent. That's not sit back, but be measured and beat us if they're a good side. Newcastle did the opposite of that, and I really wanted to see how we reacted to that. I would have really loved to see Konate. I think part of the reason we've seen such good performances from Gravenberch, and I'm saying this time and time again, is because of the performances of Konate. Partially also Van Dijk, but that centre-back pairing that's one system, as I've drawn out before. And then we've also seen, the right-back situation at Liverpool isn't fantastic if we go beyond Bradley and Trent. By the way, two relatively world-class players. But again, it gives me hope because Liverpool got through that period, we worked our way through it, and we didn't just allow that. We didn't just go, as a few other ideologically based teams have gone, oh, well, it doesn't fit the ideology tonight. Newcastle sort of worked us out, we move on. That's kind of what happened in previous eras, and that's kind of what happens sometimes in the Premier League. You see players go, wait, the ideas aren't working, therefore we'll try something else. No, we stuck with this. And I think that's so key to what is going on. A big part of that, of course, is the leaders within the team. Mo Salah's investment in this new era, in this new period at Liverpool, is so prolific, is so meaningful to this side that I think you saw that investment last night. First of all, that's really positive if we're talking about reinvesting in contracts and all those kind of things. It seems at this point as if it would be ludicrous to let someone like Mo Salah go, but I'll reference Mookie Betts and the LA Dodgers and the Red Sox. Sometimes statistical outliers or whatever it is, but that's a very different management team, it's a very different narrative. Where the Red Sox were at, where Liverpool are at two very different points in their life cycle. But again, just be primed. This ownership or ownership group have let big players go before. And what people want to do is cast it as, right, well, that's either 100% good or 100% bad. There are gray areas with this, and I'm in the white or the black of those, not in that grey area of, I think Mo Salah should get a new contract. He's been fantastic and he hasn't shown any signs of letting up. I'd love to know what your thoughts are in the comments below. When he saves us in games like this, the concentration that we've shown on the new system, on Slot, on Gravenberch, on everything else, it doesn't seem insignificant. That is very important for the long term of the team. There'll be nights like this where it takes the work, where it takes the individual brilliance. That's the whole point of why else would you sign an individually brilliant player to a 350, 400 grand a week contract? Because of this kind of thing. But there are very small things alongside him which are breaking down. I think it's a huge part of the Trent contract, not so much the Salah one or the Van Dijk one, which is, I need assurances that in the future we're going to be good. And Liverpool is saying the opposite way, to be honest, about injuries, about those kind of things. But it is what it is. So let me know what you guys think. That's my 3 points. Salah was fantastic. Arne Slot's adjustments and repacing of the game and in-game management is fantastic. And finally, the investment of those players seems so key. They seem like very simple things to me, but they also seem like the kind of things that these are the cores of what we're building on this season. And to watch the players digging in the way that they did, to be away from home at probably the other Anfield in the UK and have those effects on us, see how that works against us, see how the referee is different in those kind of environments, that is really key to me. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. Appreciate you guys checking in on the channel. I'll be doing plenty more videos. I'm going to be doing a reaction to Arne Slot's post-match press conference, all those kind of things. And I'll chat to you guys in a little while. Much love. Bye.